Welcome to my channel, my friends. Tell me honestly, do you still translate every word in your head before speaking? Do you ever freeze because your brain is working in your native language, not English? I used to do that too, until I discovered how native speakers actually think in English. Keep watching till the end, and comment below, do you still translate in your mind? Chapter 1: The Translation Trap. When I first started learning English, every sentence in my head had two versions, one in my language, one in English. Before I said anything, my brain did a small translation exam. I thought of the idea in my own language, then I tried to find English words for it. By the time I finished, the conversation had already moved on. I always felt slow. I understood late. I answered late. And sometimes I said nothing at all because my brain was too busy translating. Does that sound like you? I remember sitting in class, listening to my teacher ask, "What did you eat for breakfast?" My brain didn't hear the meaning. It heard the words and started searching. What did you eat for breakfast? I tried to remember each one, then changed them into my language, found the answer, and tried to come back into English again. But by then, everyone was already laughing and talking. I sat there quietly, pretending to write something, but inside I felt small. I thought, maybe I'm just not good at English. The truth was, I wasn't bad at English. I was just stuck in translation mode. My brain didn't know how to think in English yet. It was using my native language as a bridge. But bridges are slow. They're not made for speed. I was crossing the same bridge again and again, word by word, every time I spoke. That's why my English felt heavy and slow. I used to wonder why native speakers spoke so fast. How could they reply in just 1 second? I thought they had some magic power. But later, I discovered the real reason. They don't translate. They don't even think in words the way we do. When they hear dog, they don't translate it into another word. They instantly imagine the picture, the sound of barking, maybe a dog they know. Their brain jumps straight to meaning, not translation. That's their secret. But I didn't know this in the beginning. So every time I spoke, I made the same mistake. Someone asked, "Where are you going?" My brain first said it in my own language, then slowly built the English version. I am going to the market. It felt like climbing a hill every time. I couldn't be natural. I couldn't be free. I was thinking too much. One day, something changed. I was talking to my friend online, and I suddenly replied in English without thinking. It just came out. It was simple. "I'm fine. What about you?" But it was automatic. I didn't translate it. It felt smooth, easy, almost like breathing. For a second, I was shocked. How did that happen? That tiny moment showed me something powerful. When you hear, speak, and feel English every day, your brain begins to build a new road. You stop crossing the old bridge of translation and start walking freely on the English path. After that, I started noticing my thinking habits. Every time I caught myself translating, I stopped and said, "No, let's think in English." If I saw a tree, I said to myself, "Tree." If I saw water, I said, "Water." I stopped saying the word in my language first. At first, it was strange. My brain resisted. It wanted to go back to the old habit because it felt safe. But slowly, new connections began to form. The English words started to feel alive, not just memorized, but real. That's when I understood something important. You can't speak fast in English if you think slow, and you think slow when your thoughts are still in another language. You must change the way you think, not just the way you speak. Thinking in English is like changing the software inside your brain. The old one was translating everything, the new one works directly in English. But how do you change that software? The answer is simple, one thought at a time. You can't force your mind to change in one day. You have to train it daily, like a muscle. Start small. When you see something, name it in English. When you do something, describe it in English. Don't wait for perfect grammar. Don't worry about long sentences. Just begin. I did the same. When I woke up, I said in my head, I am waking up. When I brushed my teeth, I thought, I am brushing. When I ate, I said, I am eating breakfast. These small sentences became my English thoughts. I didn't need books. I didn't need anyone else. I just needed to use English inside my head. The more I did this, the less I translated. Kirch's Freiheit Math. And something amazing started to happen. English stopped feeling like a school subject. It started feeling like a part of me. My mind began to think in small English pictures instead of long translations. I could answer faster, understand more, and speak with confidence. So if you still translate every word before speaking, remember, you're not doing anything wrong. You're just using an old habit. But now, you can replace it with a new one. Thinking in English is not about perfection. It's about connection, connecting words with feelings, actions, and real life. In the next chapter, I'll show you how native speakers actually think, and how you can train your brain to do the same, even if you're just starting today. So don't go anywhere. Chapter 2: How Native Speakers Think. When I used to listen to native English speakers, I always felt like they were faster, smarter, and somehow different. They didn't seem to stop and think. They just spoke. Words flowed like water. I thought maybe they had stronger memories, better grammar, or some natural gift I didn't have. But one day, I realized something that changed everything. They don't think in words the way we do. They think in pictures, emotions, and sounds. That's why they sound natural. That's why they don't freeze. And the truth is, you can learn to do it too. Let me show you what happens inside their mind. When a native speaker hears the word coffee, they don't stop to think, ah yes, coffee means kahawa or kofi. No translation. Instead, their mind instantly shows them a hot cup, the smell, maybe even the memory of drinking it with a friend. It's not a word, they feel the experience. That's why their English sounds alive. For us learners, though, coffee is first a sound, then a translation, then a meaning. It's a long journey in the brain. That's why we need time before we can answer. The secret is to skip that middle step. When I understood this, I realized English isn't just a subject. It's a way of seeing the world. Native speakers don't speak English. They think in English. Their thoughts are built using English blocks, not translations. And the good news? You can build those same blocks. But you must teach your brain to connect words directly with meaning. You must create the link between English and experience. I started small. When I saw the word rain, I didn't just memorize it. I stood by my window, looked at the sky, listened to the sound, and whispered, rain. I tried to feel the word. After that, every time I heard rain, I didn't have to translate. My brain already knew the feeling. I connected the English sound with a real memory. That's what native speakers do. Every word in their mind is alive with pictures and emotions. Another example, when they say, I'm hungry, they don't think of the grammar rule or the translation. Their body feels hunger. The words match their feelings. That's why their speech sounds natural. But for learners, we often think about grammar first. I am hungry, so it feels forced and slow. The trick is to stop focusing on building perfect sentences and start focusing on connecting real thoughts and feelings with English words. Think about children. They don't study grammar books. They don't translate. They listen, repeat, and connect. When their mom says, apple, they see an apple, hold it, taste it. They learn the meaning through experience. That's why they grow up speaking naturally. As adult learners, we forget this. We try to learn through memorization, but our brain loves connection, not lists. So if you want to think in English like a native, you must rebuild that childlike way of learning. I started doing a small exercise. Every time I learned a new word, I didn't just write it, I imagined it. If it was book, I imagined holding one. If it was walk, I imagined myself walking down the street. When I combined words with pictures, they stayed in my mind longer. They became part of my thinking. Slowly, I noticed I was beginning to feel English sentences instead of translating them. Native speakers also think in groups of meaning, not single words. For example, they don't think go to bed. They just think go to bed as one single idea. That's why they don't pause. For them, it's one thought. But for us, we break everything apart, checking each word. So, if you want to think like them, start learning phrases, not just words. Learn the full picture. Say, take a shower, make a decision, catch a cold. These small phrases are ready-made thoughts. When you memorize them as one piece, your brain stops translating and starts flowing. Another thing that helped me was sound. Native speakers don't just think in grammar, they think in rhythm. Their sentences have a music, a heartbeat. Listen carefully to how they say, "What do you want to do?" They don't say every word slowly and clearly. Their rhythm carries the meaning. When I started copying that rhythm, my brain stopped focusing on each word and started feeling the flow. That's when I realized thinking in English is not only about words, it's about sound. And the most beautiful part? When you begin to think in English, you start to see the world differently. I remember walking through the market one day, and suddenly my brain said, "What a beautiful morning." It wasn't planned, it just happened. For the first time, I didn't think of it in my native language first. It was English, simple, direct, real. That moment made me smile because I knew something big had changed inside me. So, if you've been struggling, remember this. Native speakers don't have a special brain. They've just built strong connections between English and real life. You can do the same. Don't think of English as a language you're learning. Think of it as a world you're entering. Every word, every sound, every phrase, let it touch your life. When you see the sky, say blue. When you feel tired, think, I'm tired. When you eat, say delicious. Each moment is your training ground. The more you connect English with your real world, the faster your brain learns to think like a native. In the next chapter, I'll show you exactly how to train your English mind daily, step by step, until English becomes your natural way of thinking. You'll learn what I call the English brain routine, and how just 5 minutes a day can completely change the way your mind works. Chapter 3: Training the English Mind. After I learned how native speakers think, I realized something powerful. Thinking in English isn't magic, it's training. Just like a muscle, your English mind grows stronger the more you use it. But most learners don't train the mind, they only train the memory. They try to remember words, grammar, and rules, but they never teach their brain how to use them in real time. That's why they freeze when speaking. I did the same for years. I studied hard, but when I opened my mouth, my brain felt empty. I wasn't stupid, I was just untrained. My brain didn't know how to think in English yet, so I started building what I call my English mind gym. I didn't need books or teachers. I only needed small, daily exercises that trained my thoughts. The first rule was simple: think in English before you speak. Even if you don't say it out loud, think it. For example, when I woke up, I didn't say, "Good morning," in my native language anymore. I said it in English, even in my mind. When I brushed my teeth, I said silently, "I'm brushing my teeth." When I drank water, I thought, "This water is cold." At first, it felt strange. It was like talking to myself. But slowly, I noticed something amazing. English words started coming faster. My brain didn't need to translate anymore. That was the beginning of real training. The key was repetition, not perfection. I practiced small, simple thoughts again and again until they felt automatic. I used the same few sentences every morning, every day, every night. It was boring sometimes, but it worked. Just like your body remembers how to walk without thinking, your brain can remember English sentences the same way. The more you repeat them, the more natural they feel. I also made a rule for myself: no grammar in my head. Grammar comes later, meaning comes first. I didn't stop myself to check if I was saying do or does correctly. I only focused on speaking with feeling. I go, he go, she go. It didn't matter. The goal was not perfection, it was flow. When you train your English mind, you must first allow mistakes. Mistakes are the weight that builds your mental muscles. Every wrong sentence you think or say makes the next one easier. Sometimes, I did small challenges. I called them my English thinking minutes. I set a timer for 5 minutes and told myself, for the next 5 minutes, I will only think in English. During that time, I described everything around me. The window is open, the air feels cool, the dog is sleeping. My mind tried to escape back to my native language many times, but I gently brought it back. It was like training a small puppy. It runs away, but you call it back again and again. Slowly, it learns to stay. That's exactly how your mind learns English. Another powerful exercise I used was what I called the mirror minute. Every night, I stood in front of the mirror and talked to myself in English. Not long sentences, just feelings. I am tired today. I did well today. Tomorrow will be better. At first, it was awkward, but looking at my own face while speaking helped me build confidence. My brain began to connect emotions with English words. That's the secret to thinking like a native. The emotion must connect to the language. If you only study dry words, your brain won't keep them. But when you speak with emotion, even to yourself, your brain remembers because it feels it. I also started labeling my environment in English. On my table, I put small notes, book, pen, lamp. When I saw them, I didn't translate. I just looked and said the word. That simple connection, seeing and naming, trained my mind to think directly in English. It's the same way children learn. They don't sit and translate, they point and say the word. You can do the same at any age. Listening practice was another part of my training. I didn't listen like a student, I listened like a child. I stopped trying to understand every word and started focusing on the feeling and rhythm. I repeated what I heard, even if I didn't know the meaning. When I listened to short dialogues, I copied them. How are you? I'm fine. What's your name? My name is Adam. I repeated these small lines every day. Slowly, my mouth and mind started working together. Thinking and speaking became one action. Some days were hard. There were moments I wanted to quit because my brain felt tired. But then I reminded myself, this is how every new skill begins. No baby speaks perfectly. They make sounds, copy, and repeat. The same is true for us. You can't think in English overnight. But if you practice daily, your brain will begin to change quietly, just like a muscle grows when you exercise. You won't notice it at first. But one day, you'll be walking down the street, and a thought will appear in English naturally. That's when you'll smile and realize it's working. So, my friend, if you want to train your English mind, remember 3 golden rules. First, practice daily, even for 5 minutes. Second, don't chase grammar, chase flow. Third, feel every word, don't just remember it. If you follow these rules, your brain will stop translating and start living in English. In the next chapter, I'll show you how to take this training into your daily life. You'll learn how to make your mornings, your routines, and even your small moments your English classroom. No textbooks, no pressure, just life itself becoming your teacher. Chapter 4. Everyday Thinking Practice. Once I started training my English mind, I realized something powerful. If I only practiced English during study time, I would never think like a native. Real thinking happens in life, not in lessons. Native speakers don't open a book to think, they just live their language. So I decided to turn my whole day into my English classroom. Every simple action became part of my practice. I stopped waiting for the right time to think in English. The right time was every moment. When I woke up in the morning, I didn't check my phone in my native language anymore. I greeted the day in English. Good morning, Adam. It's a new day. Then I described what I was doing. I'm brushing my teeth. I'm making tea. The water is hot. These small thoughts may sound simple, but they are powerful. Every time I thought like this, I was teaching my brain that English is not something outside my life. It's part of it. Slowly, my mind started to respond automatically. I no longer translated toothbrush or tea, I just thought them directly. During breakfast, I looked at my food and thought, this bread is soft. The butter is cold. I like this smell. I wasn't studying, I was feeling English. That's the secret. Thinking in English doesn't come from memorization. It comes from experience. You must attach the language to your real world. Every time you use English to describe your life, your brain builds faster and stronger English connections. When I walked outside, I continued my practice. The sun is bright. The street is noisy. That car is blue. These were not just sentences, they were my English thoughts. Sometimes I whispered them quietly. Sometimes I said them in my mind. But they were mine. They were real. And every moment I practiced, I was training my brain to skip translation. At first, I had to remind myself constantly. My brain kept going back to my native language. But instead of getting angry, I smiled and switched back to English again. It was like teaching a child how to walk. They fall, but they get up again. You must be patient with your brain. It takes time to build a new habit, but every small effort counts. I also started to describe people I saw. That woman is walking fast. That boy looks happy. The shop is closed today. It felt like I was narrating my own life story in English. Soon, it became automatic. Even when I didn't try, my mind started thinking in English on its own. That was the moment I realized my practice was working. The best part was, I didn't need to sit at a desk or open a grammar book. I could practice anywhere, on the bus, in the kitchen, or while walking to school. Every place became a chance to think in English. When you turn your daily routine into language practice, you stop being a student. You become a speaker. To make it even stronger, I started using time blocks. For example, from 8 to 9 a.m., I promised myself to only think in English. Even if I didn't know how to say something, I used simple words or found another way to express it. If I didn't know the word umbrella, I said the thing for rain. That's what children do too. They don't stop when they don't know a word. They find another way. That's how fluency grows. Sometimes, I made my own little games. I picked one object each day and talked about it in English for 1 minute. This is my phone. It is black. I use it to call my friends. I like watching videos on it. The more I practiced, the more words came naturally. You don't need fancy vocabulary to think in English. You just need real sentences about real life. In the evening, I used another trick. I called it the replay game. Before sleeping, I replayed my whole day in English in my mind. I woke up late today. I ate eggs for breakfast. I went to work. I talked to my friend. I was tired but happy. This small habit helped me review my day and strengthen my English memory. It was like watching a movie of my own life, but in English. And something beautiful started to happen. My thoughts began to sound like the voice of a native speaker inside my head. When I got angry, I said, "Oh, come on, Eva." When I was surprised, I said, "Really?" When I was tired, I said, "I need a break." These were not translations, they were reactions. That's what real thinking in English feels like. It's emotional, not mechanical. If you want to think like a native, don't wait for a perfect time. Don't wait for a class or a teacher. Your daily life is enough. Speak to yourself when you cook. Think in English when you walk. Describe what you see, what you feel, what you do. The more you live with English, the more English lives in you. So from tomorrow, try this. Choose 1 hour of your day and promise to think only in English. Describe everything around you, even in the simplest way. Don't worry about mistakes. Don't stop when you don't know a word. Just keep the flow. That's how your English brain wakes up. In the next chapter, I'll tell you how listening plays a big role in thinking. Because when you start to listen like a native, your brain starts to speak like one. Get ready to discover how sound, rhythm, and emotion can make your English thoughts natural and alive. Chapter 5: Listening like a Native. Listening was the turning point in my English journey. Until then, I used to think listening meant only understanding words. But that's not how native speakers listen. They don't listen just to words, they listen to rhythm, tone, and emotion. They feel the music of the language. When I started listening like them, my brain began to think in English without me even trying. It was like my ears were teaching my mind a new way to live. In the beginning, listening felt painful. I would watch English videos and understand only a few words. My brain kept shouting, "Translate it! What did they just say?" I paused again and again, wrote down words, and got tired fast. I thought I was bad at listening. But one day, I noticed something interesting. When I listened to songs, I didn't translate every word, yet I still felt the meaning. I could feel when the singer was happy, sad, or hopeful, even if I didn't know every lyric. That was when I understood listening is not only about understanding words, it's about feeling the language. So I changed my method. I stopped trying to understand everything and started focusing on the sound. I played short clips, sometimes cartoons, sometimes interviews, sometimes movies, and I just listened. I didn't pause, I didn't write anything. I let the rhythm flow through me. I noticed how the words connected, how voices rose and fell, how emotions moved inside the sentences. Slowly, something amazing happened. The sounds started to make sense on their own. I began to recognize patterns. My ears started to think faster than my brain. When native speakers listen, they don't hear English as separate words. They hear groups, like gonna wanna gotta. At first, these sounds confused me. I kept wondering, what is wanna? Where's want to? But now I know that's real English. That's how the brain of a native speaker processes sound: fast, connected, natural. So if you want to think like them, you must listen like them. Don't try to catch every single word. Feel the sentence as one flow. I started with simple listening habits. Every morning while brushing my teeth, I played a short English story. I didn't try to learn, I just listened. I let the words fill my room. I noticed the sound of in think, the softness of in water. I repeated those sounds quietly. They started to live in my mouth and my mind. The more I listened, the easier it became to hear English in real life. Then I discovered something even more powerful: shadowing. It means listening and repeating at the same time, like a shadow following the speaker. At first, it was hard. I couldn't keep up. But I didn't stop. I started with short sentences. How are you? I'm doing great. What's your plan today? I copied the voice, the rhythm, the emotion. Slowly, I started sounding more natural. My brain began to predict the next word before I heard it. That's when I realized I was no longer just listening. I was thinking in English through sound. I also began to notice how emotions lived in English voices. When someone said, "Really?" I could feel the surprise. When they said, "I don't think so," I heard the doubt. These feelings helped my brain connect English with emotion, and that's what makes it alive. Native speakers don't think about grammar when they speak. They think about how they feel. Their rhythm matches their emotion. So when you listen, don't just ask, "What are they saying?" Ask, "How are they feeling?" That's how you train your emotional ear, the secret key to natural English thinking. I made listening my daily friend. On the bus, I listened to podcasts. At night, I listened to calm English audiobooks. Sometimes I didn't understand much, but that didn't matter. My brain was learning the sound pattern silently. When you listen daily, your brain starts predicting. It knows what's coming next. That's how children learn. That's how you can learn too. One day, something beautiful happened. I was walking home, listening to a short English story, and suddenly I realized I wasn't translating anymore. The story was just flowing. The pictures were appearing in my mind directly in English. I could see the forest, the rain, the people talking. I didn't need my old language anymore. I was finally thinking through sound. It felt free. It felt natural. It felt like English had become part of me. So, if you want to think in English like native speakers, don't just listen for meaning, listen for feeling. Copy their tone, their rhythm, their energy. Let your ears lead your brain, because when you start listening like a native, your brain will soon start speaking like one. In the next chapter, I'll tell you how to stop overthinking English completely, and how to start feeling it. Because fluency doesn't come from fear, it comes from freedom, the freedom to feel your words before you say them. Chapter 6. Stop overthinking, start feeling. There was a time when I wanted every sentence I spoke in English to be perfect. Every word, every tense, every grammar rule had to be correct, or I wouldn't say anything at all. I waited for the perfect sentence to appear in my mind. But you know what happened? Nothing came out. My mouth stayed closed. My heart raced. I felt nervous and stupid. I wasn't speaking. I was thinking too much. That's the real problem most English learners face. Not a lack of words, but too many thoughts. Overthinking kills fluency. It's like trying to dance while checking every step in a book. You can't move freely if your brain keeps saying, "Is this right? Is this wrong?" I used to think native speakers were brave because they spoke fast. But later, I realized they're not brave, they're relaxed. They don't think about grammar when they talk. They feel the language. They trust their instincts. And that's the real difference between learning English and living English. When I finally understood this, I made a new rule for myself. Feel first, think later. Whenever I wanted to say something, I didn't ask, "Is this correct?" I asked, "Does this express how I feel?" That small change changed everything. My sentences became simpler, more natural, more real. I stopped trying to sound smart and started trying to sound human. I remember one moment clearly. I was talking to a foreign friend, and halfway through the conversation, I made a grammar mistake. I stopped and said, "Oh, sorry, my English is not perfect." She smiled and said, "It's fine, I understood you completely." That day I learned something huge. Communication is not about perfection, it's about connection. She didn't care about my grammar, she cared about my message. My overthinking was only hurting me, not my English. So, I started to speak freely, without fear. If I wanted to say "I go yesterday," I said it. I knew it wasn't perfect, but it was real. The next time, my brain automatically corrected itself to "I went yesterday." That's how learning happens, through doing, not through fear. Overthinking blocks the natural process. Feeling opens it. I began to treat English like music. When you listen to a song, you don't stop to check every word. You feel the rhythm, the emotion, the flow. English is the same. Every sentence has a rhythm, a heartbeat. When you relax and feel the language, you start to think like a native. Your thoughts stop being translated and start being felt. To train this feeling, I practiced a simple method. Whenever I listened to a sentence, I didn't repeat it like a robot. I said it with emotion. If the sentence was happy, I smiled while saying it. If it was sad, I changed my voice. I made English alive inside me. That's what native speakers do naturally. They don't speak with grammar, they speak with emotion. Sometimes, I practiced with my mirror. I looked at myself and said sentences with feeling. "I'm proud of myself. I can do this. Today is my day." It wasn't just English practice, it was emotional training. I was teaching my brain to trust English. Every word carried energy. The more I practiced this, the less I hesitated. You must understand one thing. Your brain can't think in English if your heart is full of fear. Fear slows down your thoughts. It makes you check every word. But when you replace fear with curiosity, your English starts flowing naturally. Don't ask, "What if I make a mistake?" Ask, "What can I learn if I try?" Native speakers make mistakes too, all the time. They say "gonna wanna kinda," and no one laughs. They forget grammar rules, skip words, and keep going. Why? Because they care about expressing themselves, not impressing others. That's the mindset you need. The next time you speak English, close your eyes for a second and feel your sentence before you say it. Feel what you want to express, then say it simply. Don't try to decorate it with big words or perfect grammar. Say it with emotion. That's when your English becomes real. One day, I noticed something amazing. I was talking to someone, and I realized I hadn't thought about grammar once. My sentences were just coming out naturally. They weren't perfect, but they were smooth and alive. That was the day I stopped being a learner and started being a speaker. I stopped thinking and started feeling. So, my friend, stop overthinking. Don't try to control every word. Let English flow. Let English flow through you like music. Feel the meaning before you say it. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present. The more you feel English, the more your thoughts start to form in English naturally. And in the next chapter, I'll show you how to take this freedom and turn it into a lifestyle. How to live in English every single day, even when you're alone, even when no one's listening. Because once English becomes your environment, your mind will have no choice but to think in it. Chapter 7: Living in English. When I stopped chasing perfection and started feeling English, something beautiful happened. It stopped being a subject, and it became part of my life. I was no longer learning English, I was living it. My world slowly turned into English. My thoughts, my sounds, my songs, my routines. And that's when I realized the final secret of thinking like a native. You don't force English into your life, you build your life around it. At first, I didn't plan anything big. I just made small changes. I changed my phone language to English. I set my calendar, my apps, even my alarms in English. Every time I read a notification, I was training my brain without studying. I followed English-speaking YouTubers, watched short videos, read subtitles, and even ordered food by reading English menus online. My life slowly became full of small English moments. I didn't even notice when it happened, but one day, I realized English was everywhere around me. In the morning, I listened to English podcasts while making breakfast. The voices became my company. I didn't understand every word, but it didn't matter. I could feel the rhythm of natural English in my ears. When I walked to work, I described everything around me in English quietly. The air feels fresh. The sky looks clear today. I'm late again. He's. These small thoughts trained my brain more than any textbook ever could. I also created my English corner at home. It was a small table with an English book, a notebook, and sticky notes full of positive phrases. I can do this. Keep speaking, mistakes are okay. I sat there every night, even for 10 minutes, and spoke to myself in English. I talked about my day, my feelings, my dreams. It became a ritual, my private conversation in English. Slowly, my mind started to switch languages naturally. It wasn't a decision anymore, it was a habit. I realized something powerful. You don't need to live in an English-speaking country to think in English. You just need to make English live in your country, in your home, in your mind. You can create your own English world wherever you are. The language is not in the place, it's in the practice. One day, while walking home, I caught myself thinking, I need to buy bread, not in my language but in English. I stopped for a moment and smiled. I didn't even try, it just happened. That was the day I knew my brain had switched. I was thinking like a native speaker, fast, natural, and free. It didn't mean my English was perfect, it meant my connection was real. English had become my second voice. Living in English also changed the way I felt about mistakes. Before, a single mistake could ruin my confidence. Now, it didn't matter. When I spoke with someone and made an error, I laughed and kept talking. I learned that native speakers don't stop when they make mistakes. They continue because communication matters more. When I adopted that mindset, I spoke more and more. The more I spoke, the faster I improved. I also started thinking in English during emotional moments. When I was sad, I whispered, "It's okay, I'll be fine." When I was happy, I said, "This feels amazing." When I was nervous, I breathed and said, "I can do this." These emotional sentences helped my brain connect English with feelings. That's what made it real. It wasn't just language anymore, it was life. Soon, English became the background music of my days. I dreamed in English sometimes. I planned my future in English words. I wrote lists, goals, and even personal letters in English. It wasn't about learning anymore. It was about being. I was living my story in 2 languages now, and one of them was English. You can do the same. You don't need a teacher watching you. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to make English part of your daily rhythm. Listen to it, think in it, write in it, talk in it, even if no one else understands. The more you surround yourself with English, the faster your mind adapts. One day, your thoughts will switch on their own, just like mine did. So start today. Change your phone to English. Watch one short English video daily. Talk to yourself while cooking. Write a small diary entry at night. Every small moment counts. One day, without realizing it, you'll wake up and your first thought will be in English. And you'll smile, because you'll know you're no longer studying a language. You're living it. So, my friend, this is your time to begin. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Create your own English world. One thought, one sentence, one day at a time. Thinking in English like a native isn't a dream, it's a lifestyle. And you already have everything you need to make it real. If this video inspired you, make sure to like it, subscribe to the channel Time Furs, and comment below one simple English sentence you'll think about today. I'll be reading your comments, and I'll see you in the next video.